Well, hello and welcome. That favorite part of the day, you should be, finish your dinner, sat back, relax, waiting for what topic is going to come, who's going to discuss it, and how in depth are we going to go. Well, finally, digital addressing system is here. Ghana being Ghana and how we started, and we gateway of Africa. This shouldn't be a discussion today. This is something that should have done ages ago. However, it's here now. And it started. There's some who think, look, it's not going to work, it's going to have teething problems, it hasn't started off well. And then there's another school of thought that think, look, we've thought through everything and, there's no cause for alarm. However, whichever way, it should start, and it should start now. But here is a country which we seem to build and then come back to plan. Most countries will plan and then build. So then you wonder how our addressing system is going to work. You drive on the motorway and there are thousands and countless of kiosks everywhere, where people live in it, and it's their permanent abode. One would ask, are they going to have an address? And what's the address going to be? Just in case the landowner come and, needs the land and you need to check out your kiosks, what happens? Still, we are all for digital addressing system, and we're going to find out how it is that you at home can get a digital address. You need to put in some data, to get a digital address. How safe is the data that you input? Make sure that the guy next door is not going to grab your personal details and check out and do what's untold about it. But again, I'm saying that whichever way, better late than never, digital addressing system should be here, should start, would streamline the economy, broaden the opportunity of getting loans, because they know where you are and they're more likely to find you. But still, they're saying there are teething problems. Are they? Well, stay tuned. My name is Nana Sakwa IV, Chief of the famous little Republic of Akwemwe-Dumasa. When I come back, I'm talking to my guest. Don't go. Well, thank you very much for staying with me. In studio, sat right next to me is Mr. Kweku Tabi Amponsa, Deputy Managing Director in charge of Finance and Administration, Ghana Post.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
And then we have Maximo Zameto, Technology Analyst. So he's probably analyzed all this technology of getting your digital addressing system, and I know he's got some concerns as to whether it works or not. So I'll start with Maximus. I know you've had some concerns. What are your concerns with how they've launched it or the method that they're using?
Yeah, I think we in the tech space, we have some reservation, and equally every product will have.
Now I know you're in the tech space, so all your installations should be in English. Don't give me only
I'll give you. Now, as much as possible, don't do that
English,
because of
our
audience. And for us, I think if you're doing a digital addressing system, the first time I saw the beta version, and of course the launched out product, I thought it was a locator instead of an addressing system. Right, so if I want a parcel delivered to me anywhere in Ghana, I can just activate my current location, and then Ghana Post can find me to deliver parcels to me. But the difficulty is trying to use that 5 meter square, grid to represent the size or the shape of my 100 by 80 property. That is one challenge, right? And we also wonder if the person creating the address owns the property or not. So should the tenant create the address or the owner of the property create the address? And to what extent do people know even the margin of errors in creating addresses? Because visibly you can't see the 5 meter square grid in your house, so you don't even see the plot that even crosses to your neighbor's house, even if you stand in front of your gate or property. So there are a lot of disparities and things that needs to be clear out for the public to understand exactly how we are going to use that system. for me, knowing what an addressing system is and having worked in that space where we can pick the four corners or coordinates of a property, so we come up with a median location, so that when we say this house has this particular address, we know everybody in that house has that one address, like we used to have. And of course, when you see your water bill or light bill, there's a geolocation already of the property on that bill. So what exactly are we trying to achieve? Or we call it national addressing system or a delivery system. We have to be clear about that.
Okay, let's take it one at a time. Mr. Tabi, I think one point he raises, assuming I'm sat, by my wall on a summer hat, when I say, well, let me register. And my next door neighbor is also sat in a summer hat next to his wall. He says, well, why not? Let me register. Your 5 meters square may, maybe my wall may be dividing. So I'll be sat in 2 meters, he's sat in 2 meters, and we may end up with the same address and assuming we live in the same house. I mean, it probably wouldn't happen. Not that everybody's going to be, but there's the odd chance where you have the 1% who were somehow in the same 5 meter, because 5 meters is quite big. I mean, that's like 15 feet.
Yeah, and you see, just to interrupt, in GPS, GPS stuff, there are 7 parameters for calculating margin of errors. Mm-hmm. So the convention is that 3 meters squared is the best, closest, or the approximate that reduces the margin of error. So the 3 meters squared reduces the margin of errors than going 5 meters. When you go 5 meters,
then you
increase the margin of error by a huge margin. I don't know how they want to resolve
Are you
that.
being overly critical?
No, you see, in the tech space, whatever product, we are happy that if I want to sell shoes, for example, I can locate somebody anywhere. If I want Ghana Post to deliver that product to me, or I want to deliver, to deliver the product to somebody. Now, I was going to speak somewhere in Abokobi. They used Asasi GPS to send me the coordinates, and I was able to find them without asking anybody. So for me, locating a particular place is easier, but I can't say that 5 meters squared grid is the address of that huge plot of land. It was actually like a camp, right? So that is a challenge that I have with that.
Okay, so Kweku.
Okay. Thank you, Nana. I think what the government was trying to do is to enable citizens and institutions to have a digital address. That will be the basis to improve the economy, to formalize or digitize the economy. Okay, so the addressing system can be used as a locator and can also give you an address. Okay, this has been designed such that it takes into account Ghana's situation. So for instance, you are getting an address that is taking into account the region you are in, the district, and the combination of numbers, which is giving you your postcode, which before this time it was difficult to get. I remember in the past, you want to fill some forms on the internet, they'll ask you your postcode, you'll not be able to proceed. Okay, so this has been designed to provide that unique kind of code. Of course, you can use it as indicated when he used another application. Okay, you can decide to pick the address of a particular location and send to somebody for the person to find you. That is possible, but the essence is to be able to get your own address and use in transactions with individuals, with private and government institutions. So the system provides opportunity for users or Ghanaians to have 2 main addresses stored in the addressing system. You can have your residential address and your office address. Other addresses can be picked as and when you need them. Okay, so this is the distinction between the locator I was talking about and what the system is intended to be used for. there's another issue of 5 by 5 meters square. Okay, that is how the country has been plotted. Okay, and this was done to take into account people with smaller homes, people who are tenants in a bigger home where the other tenants, and they have a small place they occupy, and people who operate in a small area. For instance, a cocoa seller doesn't have much space, it's not in a big shop, so all these things were taken into account. Okay, when you are using the app and you want to pick a location or you want to pick an address, the system is able to give you the accuracy of the address you are picking. So the system will prompt you that you are within 3 meters, which is green, which is what we advise people to pick as their addresses. So issue of overlap between you and another tenant may happen, but there's opportunity for you to move to a place that will give you an accurate address. Okay, I indicated may happen not as something that may easily happen. It's may we don't foresee it as the norm, because we are encouraging people to pick these addresses from in front of their gates, which all things being equal are likely to be outside 5 meters range from the next door. That is the assumption we have used. But the impulse of having this address,
the gate or front room door?
Gate for people who live in their own homes.
Oh, okay. If you live in your own home.
Yes, for people in
compound
houses, you can stand in front of your door and pick your address. Don't let us lose the sight of the fact that the system is for a particular purpose, and that is what we should all be looking for. Criticisms, in quotes, comments, queries are always welcome. We are happy to work with everybody to bring his or her idea to make this work for Ghanaians. So all comments are welcome, but this is the reason for, or this is how the system has been set up to be able to meet the needs of Ghanaians.
There are certain houses that the whole house is 5 meters like that, and there's lots of them in there. So what, you share an address? Will the system allow us to share an address?
Yes, the system actually allows you to share. For instance, I live with my wife and kids. There's no point for my wife and I picking different addresses. I just pick one and I share with my family that this is the address I've picked, this is where I stood to pick, and we can all use it.
No, that's different. I'm talking about where, I don't know Maximus, but we're all in the same space. He rents one room, I rent one room, somebody's renting another chamber and hall. I mean, the whole house is 5 meters. So wherever he stands, he's picking my coordinate, I'm picking his coordinate. If we turn up for an ID, I mean, how does it work?
Unfortunately, that is the situation. If that is where you live, all of you are within 5 meters. Okay, but where you are outside, or you stay 5 meters away from each other, it is possible. Let's note that we design it to take into account all situations. It may not be possible at all times. In few instances, we may have this happening, but it will not be out of place to use the same address, because if you are looking for any of you, since you are within 5 meters square, it will bring the person to the same point. Right. Even if it was not within 5 meters, both of you are in separate 5 meters square, it will come to the same house anyway.
Okay. Before I go to Maximus, I mean, the hundreds and hundreds of kiosks dotted around the motorway. I mean, do we digitize them all and say, well, that's where you live, that's your address, or move and find a legal place before I give you an address?
The system has already mapped. Have the questions to me?
Yes.
The system has already mapped the whole of Ghana. Okay,
so no matter where you are.
No matter where you are. His Excellency the Vice President indicated, even if you are in trouble in River Uti, we can get you can get an address and get an assistance from emergency services. Okay, so the whole country is already mapped. All you need to do is to get the address of where you are. So wherever a kiosk is now has an address. If the occupant needs an address, all the person needs to do is to register and get his digital address.
Maximus, over to you.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge, and it's quite difficult trying to explain that, because you see, technically we have every property has an address already, right? So it shows on your electricity, water bill, and all that. Now people move, so I don't know the extent to which they've incorporated that, so that if I move from my current 5 meter square grid to another place, how do I update that? And if a bank already has my previous address, how do you also do that? And then the integration of Google Maps, right? So the Google Map has been integrated, and we all know Google Map is outdated because the new street naming is not part of the Google Maps that has been integrated into the addressing system. So really, if I pick my address, in fact, frankly, I have generated 3 different codes in my office, right, at Northridge, standing at one place. So the 5 meters thing doesn't really work, because even the signal to your mobile device also affects that. Sometimes they will tell you 10 meters, 5 meters, even 30 meters accuracy. So within that space, I can generate 3 different codes standing at just one place. So which address exactly are they going to use, or will the 3 all come to the same spot? So we have some challenges with that. And if a bank wants to find a watch seller in the kiosk that has been moved, how can the watch seller also update that? And then the penetration of smartphones. You see, you are leaving the addressing system to the discretion of the public to generate for you, right? So authenticity, how do you authenticate and verify that Kofi Mensah, who has just put his address in the system, can be cross-checked, and wherever he said he was is the right place, whether there's even a property there at all? You see, when you look at the adverts for even the whole project, they talked about the digital addressing system linking it to a postcode. It means that we already had a postcode thing mapped out before even the addressing system to be laid on that particular
was it digital, where, I mean, the address on the bill?
Nana,
can anybody find it?
When we come to the concept of digital, right? Internet is both physical and virtual. Okay, so your house has a physical location, but we say, if instead of your house being Nana's villa, let's give it a number or an address, so you can stick it on the wall, which is physical. But now they say the number that will be stuck on your wall, we can generate it via an app. So really, it's not anything unique. It's just the syntax of it. It's just the grammar, the means of doing that physically. You are not doing it virtually. So you are helping people to generate the address virtually by standing in front of their homes.
So you are thinking the addressing on the bill was more efficient, or we could have used that?
We could have done a blend of them, so that if I said, okay, I leave number 2, maybe my new street name is Banana Street, right? Now number the houses. So if I'm number 22 Banana Street, it's the same thing, that you can pick the same coordinate. And when people come there physically, they can still see that this is the house number, instead of some digits that you need to send to somebody for them to input into a map before they can find your location. So how are we going to fix that? Am I going to have the first 5 digits as my house address, or the full 9 digits as my house address?
Okay, I'll try to respond to the issues Maximus have raised. Okay, he indicated his office in the Northridge. Has about 3 different addresses. Okay, So clearly he has a very big office. He's a big man. Okay.
I stood at the same place and generated 3 different codes.
Could you,
At the same point or different points in the office?
The same point. I had 4 people in the office who can testify to that.
Could it be that you were standing right on the crossroads of the 5 meter, you know, where, you know...
Oh, okay, the notes of
the 5 meter, yeah, you know,
it's
where...
possible, because I can't see it physically. Because I was just standing by the person, and I tried it 3 times, and I had 3 different codes.
Okay, if you stood at the same points, then it's something that we will need to investigate.
Okay.
I have not seen that.
Right.
Okay, so if it did happen, I thought that it was a big office and you moved to...
Oh, no, I wasn't moving. No, I was
standing at the cross axis of the 5 meter. I'm sure the 5 meter was in your office and you were right on the point of it. So if you move this way, you move into this 5 meter, that 5 meter, this 5 meter. But there must be a meeting point.
Of course, there are notes.
I will not be able to answer that.
No,
but it's technically, that's another explanation to give you, because you are using grids, and these are absolute lines. They are not approximations.
Okay, so
a small shift in
he's getting 3 addresses at the same point.
Same point.
It's something we want to actually investigate.
Yes, I can take you to that same spot and let try it.
Okay, so we'll take that offline and see how we can look at that.
Yeah.
On the issue of leaving people with Android phones and iPhones to be able to pick their own address. Okay. The system has been designed to be flexible and make it user-friendly for everybody. Everybody should be able to access it. Accessing the system and picking address at a particular location doesn't mean it is saved in the addressing system.
Okay.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
So I can have an address here and send to somebody to find me here. But if I want to get an official address, I will have to save it in the national addressing system.
Yeah.
And you don't just get up to save it. You need to get a valid national ID, which is either a voter's ID, a license, or passport. So you choose one of these and you save that to be able to save your address and say that this is either my residential address or my office address. Okay, so we are not just leaving it in the hands of people to be able to just enter anything.
Okay, so when
the data being entered, all things being equal, we expect it to be authentic, and people will want to do the right thing by entering the right.
Could you help me with the ID thing? So I'm here, I want to register. So he asked me for my ID. What do I do? Put the ID number or go to an office to show them?
Scan of it. You upload.
No, you choose the ID.
Type.
You type the ID number. Okay. There will be time for verification of all this. As I indicated earlier, this is the first step to formalize the economy. Okay. We are going to use this to do the national ID, which is the Ghana card. By the time this starts taking place, or we start rolling out the Ghana card, everybody must have a digital address. And that point, everything will be verified. Where you have entered wrong data, there will be opportunity for you to know that 1, this is wrong, and 2, the right one will be used and will be in the national system. Let's note that the government has an agenda to make sure that we all have a uniform one address system and an ID system that can be used everywhere in Ghana and even outside Ghana. And that is going to be the basis for doing transactions and operating within the country. So by the time all these things are in place, clearly we'll see that there will be all the checks and balances to make sure that people are not just entering anything, or whatever is entered there is validated. Okay.
Okay, I want to go for a quick break and come back, and then I find out if I move, because I think maximum raise, if you move, what would be the procedure to say, listen, I don't live here anymore, I live here. How do you register in the system? And don't go. Then we'll find out if it's up and running and how it is that we can, get this up and start getting ourselves addresses. Don't go. Well, it's a good education, and I'm sure you are taking notes, because we are all learning. Just before the break, we wanted to find out, should you move? What do you do with your old address, and how do you input your new address? I'm trying to get the app thing on the screen so that we can see how it works, but the app is already up and running, and I've seen Kwaku's address. I'll be visiting.
No, it is so easy. Ghana Post can help you to update your address. So if, for instance, I've been living here for 2 years and I'm using an address for this place, if I move to, say, Dansoman, okay, I'll get my address updated in the system. And going forward, if anyone is looking for me, if any person needs to come to me, if I'm doing business with a banking institution, I just need to update them that this is where I now live. So like what happens now, you have partners, you have friends, you have business people you deal with. When you relocate, you tell them that I've moved from this location to that location. So easy. You just need to do that in the system, and you need to update those people.
What would be my motivation to get an address?
The change.
To get an address.
Yeah.
First of all, you are a Ghanaian and you want to be part of the Ghana situation. We are moving to a situation where everything will, in quotes, be formalized. Okay. So we want to get a national ID, the Ghana ID, where you always need something that you always need for your transactions with institutions, with individuals, to authenticate your particulars and who you are. Okay. And this is the first step to get to that point. So it's something that should be of interest to every Ghanaian. That is where we are moving towards as a country. So I will encourage everybody, don't stay on the fence. Get your address. If you need help, we'll help you to get it.
And Maximum, you are concerned that in case you have multiple properties,
yes,
then you're only allowed to tag yourself to one.
That's the challenge I think the system has to address, so that if I have more than 5 properties, right, I should be able to, register all the addresses of the 5 properties instead of the maximum of 2. So irrespective of which property I'll use as my primary residence for whatever transaction, some people can decide I'll use my 3rd house for this transaction with this person, my 4th house, depending on the kind of privacy or whatever you need to have. So for me, I should be able to register, if I have properties, I should be able to register the addresses of those properties. And I also think owners of properties should generate the addresses that the tenants should use, instead of tenants generating the addresses themselves.
I'll try to answer Mazimu's question. You may have 5 houses and you're dealing with your partners. You'll be giving them where you live or where you work.
Or where I am.
Or where you are.
Yes.
Okay. At a point.
Yes.
Okay. So
will that be a permanent address?
Sure, that will not be a permanent address. So that is why the system is taking care of what you normally use in business dealings or with dealings with individuals and institutions. You will normally be required to provide where they can find you, where your residential address is or where your office is. This the system has taken care of. You can always have the address of your other properties, but that you will not save in the address system, because that is not where you'll be found at any point in time. At any point in time, you'll be at one location. So you have the opportunity to decide that if you're looking for me, look for me in this particular residential property or in my office. As for the other ones, you can have addresses for the other properties. Ghana Post can help you to even tag those addresses, those houses with your data address.
Yeah, I think you see the thing is, if you don't register businesses as entities on their own, and don't register individuals as entities on their own, there will be some conflict there. Because if I have three or four businesses in addition to 5 properties, how do you put up that mix of addresses for me? Because if I want to give somebody my business address, the business won't register. I'll do the register on behalf of the business. Now, if I'm going to register 5 properties, I'm going to do that on my behalf. Maybe we live only in 1, 4 are empty, so I can still get an address for those houses. Because if I'm using one as a collateral for a loan, the bank would like to find out the address of that property. So if it's not, I'm not able to register those properties because of the the cap on 2 addresses. There's a challenge.
Maximus, you can always register properties, okay, with their own address, okay. So as I indicated, the 2 is specific to you as an individual. You have a business. The business is in the 3rd property. That 3rd property has an address, okay. In registering that property, you can use the address. In registering the business that operates in that property, you can use that same address. As part of the project, about 4,000 government buildings, which will definitely include institutions, residential buildings, will be tagged. What it means is that apart from individuals, institutions will also have their digital addresses based on where their offices are located. So there is no fears in this. You as an individual with 3, 4 registered businesses can have your residential address and your office address, and can also have addresses for the institutions you own.
When you're going up, what happens? Like, high rise. So if I live on the 20th floor and you live on, ground floor, what's going to be the address?
At any point you find yourself, you should be able to generate an address.
Oh, to pick something up for you up there.
There will definitely be an address.
Okay. No, because I know. I mean, people, live on top, so they also need.
Yeah, but in plotting grids, right?
Even beyond that, let's take you on the 6th floor. You can decide to get your own address or use the address for the main building. As I indicated earlier, you can have multiple addresses depending on the size of the place. Okay, but let's look at a situation where we never had this address to where we can have an address to a property we operate within. Which one is simpler and even better? We've been trying to do street naming for several years. Governments come, they go, they start, they are not able to complete. We name a street today, tomorrow we change to another one, so we don't get all these things fully complete. Now we have a system that will help us to get an address and has address for every location where everybody or anybody in Ghana could be found. I think it's something that we should be happy about and see how we can use it to the benefit of individuals, institutions, and Ghana as a whole.
You see, I like his last point because, you see, the grid system makes the structures, the physical structures, it gives it permanent address. So the occupants can change, but the address of the property will be the same. So if you're living on the plot of land with 6-story building, there should be just one address there. I don't think somebody on 6th floor should generate a different address, somebody on the 3rd floor should generate this on the it won't be possible because the grid is layered on top of all of you. So one side of the plot will have the same address, whether you're on the 20th floor or the 80th floor. So we should be thinking about plotting the properties. We have one address. So when you come in, then we say, okay, no, a 2nd floor or something. So there's a porter's lodge there, and then the addresses will be sent to you. That's what is done, and that's what we are familiar with. But if you're on irrespective of the floor, you are going to generate the same address with somebody on the ground floor. So why don't we generate one in front of the house and use it as the address? I'm not sure you want the 13 million or so grids that has been 16 million that has been done in Ghana. Billion should be used by everybody, and I'm not sure you want us to share those grids. It's the properties where we are located that needs to be addressed. So if I'm located with that property with Nana, we should be able to be, what do you call it? We should use the same address, and anybody else can find us within that same property. We don't need to have different addresses to show that we all own addresses and we are all Ghanaians.
Maximum,
Okay.
let me come to Maximum and I'll come with you. Because I know you're quite apprehensive about somebody knowing your address.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, what's the big deal? If you know your address, you know it.
You see, if I see your physical address, if you say you live on number 2 Kings Avenue, right, Ekropon or wherever, that is on paper. This one, if you give me your address, I can just enter and find your physical location. So I know pinpoint where you are located. The first one, I have to come there physically to find your lane to identify where you are. So there are security implications, because in other countries, there are even margins of errors, even in the Google Maps and all that to do for even security installations in some places. And I'm not sure, I don't know whether they've done that really, but there are some places that you can't even plot. They've blanked them out. So for me, if you have that written in front of my house, or I have your document with me, and I want to come to you, I can find you directly. Do we limit the access to those who can use it, maybe to the bank, so you have different levels of access or administrative access, so that if a bank wants to find... So you are saying that
I can just go in the system and look, tap Maximums, and then bam, it gives you...
No, if you have my address, if you type into the system, it will plot my house for you. Okay. So if you want the bank to know my location, the bank should have access to my full address, so they can find my physical location, and sometimes even cut them off if they authenticate my physical location. So unless you're doing some investigation, then you can open access to them. Now it's free for all. If I have anybody's address, I can find your house. So privacy issue comes into play as well.
Okay, good. Masmos, thank you for your comments. I just need to mention that these addresses are unique to individuals, and you only know if the person gives it to you. So there's no way Ghana Post or any institution in Ghana is going to, let me use Ghana Post or Ministry of Communications or the government is going to give you address to anyone. Yeah. That's the starting point. No one is going to have your address unless you give the address to the person. No institution will have it unless you give it to that institution. Okay. But where you're giving it to an institution, they will have the opportunity to verify with Ghana Post whether the address is correct. It's correct as in they can check to know that it is Maximus who lives here, and this is the information we have about him. We can check and say that this is the person we are referring to. So the issue of security will, in this case, will come in if we decide to give our addresses to people. Okay.
Kuku, I think you mentioned that it will help people to affix the addresses in front of their homes. And I thought he said that. So that's what informed my comment.
Yes.
Do we need to physically fix addresses on our properties? Because when you fix the whole 9 code, it means that anybody who passes in front of your house and gets your address can send it to anybody else to find you.
Okay. I indicated earlier that Ghana Post can help people to get tags of the address on their walls. Okay. So the first thing is, you have made the request. I want this. In the past, we have house numbers on our walls. Even in other areas, in some areas in Ghana, you still have house numbers.
Yes.
Okay. So I still remember my father's house in Dan, some other house address I normally use. Okay. If it is there, no one will know that this is where Maximus live, unless I know him and I know that is where he lives. So this could be his address.
Okay, so let me just interrupt. I just put in.
I was trying to wrap up.
Okay.
So it will always be people who know you and people you have given information to. And the request to have the tag on your wall will be by you.
Right.
Maximum, I just put in Google Mr. Francis Baini, Director, Imperial Homes, UK. It's giving me an address, and it's correct. It's giving me 2 addresses. Bournemouth, Hertfordshire, WD6, and then it's giving me one in Harrow where he used to live with his sister. No, it's just there. So I don't know why are we paranoid. And so if I wanted to find him, that's the address. I don't know. I'm just saying, haven't we come to the point where, so what if you live there, or we are not there yet?
For me, you see, okay, they've digitized the address, so I'm sure if he's registered, he's been put into the system. But Ghana, even the Google Map integration that they have currently is not even updated. But if you have my coordinates, right? If you have my physical location address, now if you make it open, and as against the Data Protection Act that we are using, right? Is government allowed to make my address public? I'm not sure. Yes, in your phone because number as in the data protection, personalized data is not supposed to be made public. Yes. So for me, they have a different regime, and I don't know how theirs work. But for us, we have a data protection regime, and physical, personalized information like that shouldn't be made public. And he has explained that unless you also give it to somebody before the person can have access to your physical location, and the extent to which we even share, because for me, the privacy policy is not even detailed in the app, how we can make sure that your thing is secured, who or where you can share your addresses to make sure that somebody else doesn't have access is not within the app. Because when you click on privacy, it takes you to frequently asked questions, and it's quite different.
Okay,
I'll just make
briefly, and there's small time to go so that you can assure people how it is they should do, how they should get the app, and what they should do.
Okay, Nana and Maximus.
Yes.
No one is going to give your data out, as I indicated.
Okay.
The government is not going to expose the data you're giving to, or you put in the system, to anyone. That's the starting point. Okay, so your data is secured. It is kept in a good location that I will not have access to it. Nobody in Ghana Post would just get up and have access to it. It will be available for institutions that will need to verify, and they will verify based on what you've given them. So if somebody gave them an address, I want to open a bank account, I want a loan, then they want to check whether that address exists in the addressing system and who is it assigned to. In that case, they will be able to do it. But if they don't have that kind of information, they will not be able to check anything. So whatever data you put in there is secured, no unauthorized access, and no one will publish it anytime, anywhere.
So if you wanted to get one now, what do? You download the app?
It's simple. If you are using Apple or your iPhone phone, or you are using Android phone, you go to your store, you type Ghana Post GPS. The color is blue, the icon is blue. You download. It is free. You may incur small internet cost. Okay. When this downloaded, you may have to set it up. It will ask you 3 questions: your first name, your surname, and
so that's the icon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's the icon we see on our screen. Okay. So your first name, your surname, and your telephone number. When you provide that, the system will send you a system generated code. You use that to set up. When it is open, you see your name will appear. You see the telephone number you provided. You also see the search box. You see get an address tab. You see save location. Okay, so I want to get an address. When I start, the system will prompt me to stand outside. Okay, so if I want for my residential address, I'll go and stand just in front of my gate and get an address. That address is an alphanumeric address that has my postcode, which is a combination of my region, my district or municipal or metropolitan assembly, and also my actual address, 4-digit number, which is at the end. Okay. If I get that address, I'll ask myself whether this is what I want to use in the system. Then I will go to the
30 seconds to round up.
30 seconds, okay. I'll go to the menu, click, I'll see register address. I'll click on the register address. It will explain the format the address is in. Then I'll go further to click on register address. It will ask me 2 questions. Do I want to use my, what ID do I want to use? License, passports, or voter's ID. Whichever one I choose, I have the option to put the number there. I will save the address. It will indicate verified, and you will see the box ticked. In this case, I have registered that particular address in the national addressing system. I have opportunity to register to. It would have asked me whether residential or office. Whichever I choose, that is what will be saved for me.
Well, I hope you have educated yourself, but by now you should be out. Oh no, it's too late. But when it's safe, be in front of your gate and start registering and get yourself an address. Indeed, it will make this country safer. It will bring very quick, 10 seconds before
okay. I just need to mention that this is a good system that will help Ghana. It's supposed to help us formalize the economy and take us to the next level. I encourage every Ghanaian to use the app. We'll eventually use it anyway. Wherever you are, Ghana Post can help you to get an address. If you are using Android or not, if you have internet or not, it will help us as an institution to do well because we'll be able to deliver. It will also
soon. That's what time would allow me. Next time when we find out, for those of you who don't have mobile phones, how do you get an address? This is a conversation to be had. Thank you for watching. We're back to do this all over again.